Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Steve on the level, Thomas van der Zander, Cannabear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Amish Battle Merch, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, the name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unamento, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKiernan, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Now I'm testing stuff, Neil. So I had a Wi-Fi extender thing so that my wife could work while I was doing the show. And on one particular day she does phone calls and needs to be able to connect to the internet for VoIP to work to do customer service calls, right? If that doesn't work, it's very bad for her. So as a result, she bought a range extender called a mesh. And it buggers up the computer. That is to say, when it's working and on, I'll start dropping frames during my show and things go wonky with the internet, and it'll say that I've got a really slow connection, or if I'm playing a game, the game will go wrong. It'll show a little Wi-Fi symbol when it's hardwired. So as a result, I spoke to Craig and said, what can I do to solve this problem? And he suggested using something that connects internet via the mains. So you plug in a Ethernet cable into this little box that plugs into your mains, and then the mains carries the signal to a different position in the house, which has got its own little transmitter, and that gives you Wi-Fi. Now I've just plugged it all up, and to be fair, it does work, but with massive limitations. So the range on the one I've plugged it into the kids' bedroom, it works great in the kids' bedroom and nowhere else. So you're like, okay, so it gives us one room. So it's like, well, do we buy a second one for our room? Well, we don't have any plugs that are easily accessible. They're all covered with wardrobes. And you can't really plug it into an extension cable. So you're like, okay. So it's back to square one. Do I just move the router further into the room by buying whatever the cable that they run the fibre optic with? F plug is the end of the cable. But I just don't know if it'll damage or cause problems by extending that cable into the middle of the lounge, or if indeed that will solve the problem. But as it stands, I've just got to get my wife to test what I've just put in and see if in our room where she's doing her phone calls from, if it will actually pick up the signal from there. Because as it stands, I'm just testing it and nothing's wrong with my connection on the computer itself, which is obviously my priority is making sure the show runs perfectly. And if it's dropping frames because of an internet issue, and that internet issue is caused by a mesh that's extending the Wi-Fi, then I don't want that Wi-Fi extender. Do you know what I mean?
I gotcha.
But on the other hand, if my wife can't do her job, she won't last very long in that job if the phone calls don't work on a particular day where she's tasked with doing phone calls.
So you're caught in like a catch-22 type thing.
Well, it's the third device. We've had one that plugged in and repeated the Wi-Fi signal. That didn't work properly. Then we've got a mesh, which is the latest and greatest. So you think that would work well? No, that does work well for Wi-Fi, but because of my computer, because it somehow upsets the router. So then my computer doesn't like it, and that's no good at all. So now we're on to our third thing, which is a slightly more dated version where they plug it into the power lines. And that is working, but it's only been in for an hour, so whether or not it works as a long-term solution, I know that the speeds on it are horrendous, they're really slow. But on the other hand, for kids' Wi-Fi on their iPads and for my wife to make VoIP calls, I'm sure it's perfectly sufficient. And if it doesn't cause a problem on my computer, I'm happy to tolerate that.
What's up, John? No work today?
No, it's later. Yesterday morning was my shift change, so I go in later.
Nice. You could join the show. So Brian wrote something. The baller's only answer to the pitch data, their best defense against the pitch data, is that horizontal changes in orientation in relation to itself.
That's correct. Yeah, I had a chat with him earlier.
That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. You've summarised it well too. I suppose you were just reading what Brian said. He explained it to me in as is the case when you're trying to understand their convoluted rebuttal. It takes about 15 times longer for Brian to explain to me their convoluted rebuttal, because their convoluted rebuttal makes no sense. So you're like, okay, so they're redefining what zero is, but zero is the horizontal, and that is the reference to describe anything deviating it from it. So how can you have zero changing? Well, you can't. It's a bit like net force zero with gravity. Nothing's actually changing. Nothing's actually occurring for you to notice. But that's only because magical gravity's changing it as you go, so you wouldn't notice. But for it to be a change that you wouldn't notice, their change is, in essence, changing the gyro, the spin of the actual gyro, not the gimbal, the gyro, that's supposed to be rigid in space to give you a fixed frame of reference. That must deviate. The gyro itself must deviate. And while it deviates, the gimbal must correct around it at the same time to result in zero difference, therefore maintaining a zero the whole time that you're traveling across the plane. Yeah? So there's nothing to see, there's nothing to record, and that's because it is going around a curve. Your zero reference that would describe any deviation is constantly altering, and the gyro itself is constantly changing its fixed frame of reference to destroy the principle it's being used for to track with gravity, and the gimbal track around it. The only problem with that, and Brian was quick to point this out when I finally got it, was that when you say the gimbal must move around the deviating gyro violating its own principles, that means the plane is making an alteration, and it would be shown in the pitch data, and it isn't. So you're back to square one at the end of their convoluted gaggle screw.
Yep. Just a change in orientation.
As far as I can tell, their claim has always been that the horizontal plane of reference is changing its angle.
Yes, that's correct. But how can you change the reference?
I didn't say it made sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense, but not only they're saying the reference changes, they're saying it stays at zero. So their argument is, when it stays at zero, it's changing constantly to track around a deviation from a reference that you can't use to change or describe a change from, because it's constantly deviating. And what does that look like? It's staying at zero the whole time. What's zero? Horizontal. I mean, it's a long, convoluted way of basically saying that we track the Earth flat when we fly over it, because we're not deviating from zero. But further to that, not deviating from zero means that zero itself deviates because it's globe-shaped. That's their argument in rebuttal. And I can only summarise that because Brian took an hour with me on the phone today explaining it. Their rebuttal, that is.
So they just throw a whole bunch of word salad on top of it to confuse people. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, they need to red herring away from the pitch data and take you to gravity because it's non sequitur. And they're just going to argue about whether or not gravity will deviate a spinning reference frame that's being used to have a fixed reference in space when you're flying in free space. So that's very useful to have that reference, but that's drifting. The gyro, not the gimbal, like with Coriolis, not that. The thing that spins to give you the fixed frame of reference and zero is actually drifting, but you don't notice because it's aligning with gravity the whole time magically. But you wouldn't notice because it means that the zero is also changing. So the end result is you read zero, and you can infer that that means that zero is changing and moving around a globe. That's their argument. But that means that you've been red herringed away to argue about whether or not gravity is causing a non-zero change from 0 to 0. That's what you've got to argue about. But then you're not talking about pitch data anymore, are you? It's a red herring.
No, and that's exactly what they want.
Yeah, take you away from the actual devastating conclusion of the argument to a red herring that has no relation for you to argue about that indefinitely and hope that no one notices. There you go. So, shout out to Brian for explaining all this to me earlier on today.
Yeah, but the problem is, I don't want to hear about gravity, because what is gravity anyway? It's a bending of space-time, which is a bunch of baloney, and we all know that.
Yeah, sure.
They can't. There's no recovery from this. This is the final nail in the coffin. I don't care what anybody says.
You there, Craig? Maybe not.
Do you have a video for today, Nathan? Or an
Nope.
agenda?
No. What you got?
Well, there's two in yesterday's chat in Master B that I posted yesterday.
So, how many people coming up from under the rock with 2016 arguments? What is going on? Is that the one? Liam, you there?
Nathan, actually, I think I posted that one.
Oh, is that you? Oh, it's you. Yes, sorry. Yes, I see that now. What? You'll have to be more specific. I'm concentrating on stressing the computer at the moment. See if it buggers up.
All right, while Leon finds that, when is yesterday's after show video coming out? Because I left the guy a comment that you reviewed his
Do you
video,
remember?
but I didn't realize it would have after show.
Do you remember? Are you a Nathan Oakley member?
No.
So it's
I'm
out
not.
now for members. I thought you were asking because it hadn't worked or something had gone wrong. You just want to know when it'll come
Yeah.
out on the second channel, yeah?
Yeah,
Hold on. Yesterday's show.
yesterday's after show. When does that come out?
Okay.
Be here or be sphere at the bridge.
28th of October.
All right, thank you.
Wait, what? Over a month from now?
Like I put an old ad on that by mistake. Oh well. I'll have to adjust that if I remember later today. I've stuck on an ad for the meet I did about 2 weeks ago. No, that's not right. Whoops.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You'll have to post whatever
Yeah.
it is that you want because it's yesterday's too many messages ago. So if you can repost whatever you want us to cover today, I'll just cover it.
Okay, sure.
Thanks. Right, 5 minutes and we go live. Messing around with this stupid Wi-Fi for far too long. when Craig gets back, I'll ask him about internet speeds. Fascinating stuff that I'm sure he'll want to chat about. What video is it, Liam?
Right, there's two there. There's two Christians talking to one another, and there's a queer vegan. So I was thinking maybe Neil want to pick as a third party.
Queer vegan?
That's his brown queer vegan. I think that's his YouTube name, something like that.
Okay. Which one do you want, Neil?
Doesn't matter to me.
You know,
Which one do
guys,
you want,
this
Liam?
seems like there's Hey, Nathan, can you hear me?
Yes.
There's a video that came out 18 hours ago called King of Flat Earth Records Secret Chat with Will Duffy. It's a Matt Powerland video. Has 2,500 likes.
Math Powerland video?
Yeah.
That's the
With
one.
Matt Powerland talking to Will Duffy. Creaky Blinder channel.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'll post it right now. It might be something that's worth a review. I see Matt Powerland. I think this is him. This is him, yeah. Give me 1 second.
Okie dokie.
That one sounds very interesting.
All right, there you go. It's right there. I just found it. Don't ask me what it's about, but it's definitely Matt Powerland in there.
There's a creaky video about a Math Powerland recording of Will Duffy. Okay. Right, I'll cue that up along with one of the other two. Do you want to pick one of the two, Liam? Which one do you want to do? Have you watched either?
Yeah, the Christian one's really good. Both are really good, to be honest. But the Christian one, there's a lot of Christians in this community, so I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Sure. So you're saying do this one that's called What is a Christian Response to Flat Earther by Matt McLean? That one?
Yes.
Okay. Do that one. Only short too. Jolly good. Okay, we've got a couple of videos we can choose from.
And he has evidence for a sphere, Nathan, in the Christian video.
Oh yeah, right. Whatever.
Evidence
apparently
for a sphere.
Yeah, apparently the ancients worked it out. If you look at a boat sail over the horizon, that's how you know there's a sphere.
Oh right. So what when you use the maths that's derived from flat Earth measurements? That's great.
That's their best proof of curvature. Boats going over the horizon.
Yep.
Nothing's changed.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you?
Oh,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How's it going? Well, that's good to know. Glad you're all on the ball with the questions and all that. In the pre-show, we were discussing my entry point into this subject matter, which is Math Powerland. Now, Math Powerland, when I joined at least, had one of the biggest channels in this community before people like Jaren and Eric DeBay overtook him. And I lingered in the doldrums of nowhere forever for 10 years, watching everyone else outstrip me, with the exception of Math Powerland, who had originally labelled his channel the NASA channel. And that channel no longer exists as far as I can tell, and now he's only on his Math Powerland channel. So, Math Powerland's real name is Matthew Boylan, but goes by the name Math Powerland because that's what this whole deception's about as far as he is concerned. It's all done with math, it's all about power, and it's all about land. hence him taking that name. So Math introduced me to the subject by simply talking about it on a video that was playing. I'm quite vague about this because I can't actually put my finger on exactly which video it was that I watched, because it was while I was doing other things and the iPad just played a Math Powerland video automatically, which I then started to kind of listen to and pay attention to, because he was talking about flat Earth, but without ridiculing it. He wasn't pouring scorn on it like would typically be the case if that was the subject that was being covered. So it caught my interest, and to the point where I was like, is this guy saying Earth's flat? And when the penny finally dropped, I literally had a flash of everything that I'd experienced on aeroplanes and travel, and all my doubts about NASA images all flashed before my eyes all at once. It was quite a remarkable experience. Weird that I can't actually tell you which video it was I was watching at the time. It's not like it's relevant. What was more relevant was me going into my wife's slumber to shake her awake and go, look, Earth's flat, looking out the window at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nevertheless, that was my entry into it. So I've got a certain soft spot for Math Powerland for that very reason. And just let Brian in. Yeah, apparently he's made a video that we're going to be covering today that's a secret recording that he has made that for whatever reason Creaky has got hold of and is covering. Weird, because I actually watched a couple of Math Powerland videos yesterday. There we go, that's just a weird coincidence, and he's as wacky as he always has been, covering his face in clay to leach out toxins. That's what he's doing currently. I'm just saying it like it is. If it sounds bizarre, I don't know what to say. That's Math Powerland. He's a bit of a character. So anybody else, obviously without me going on about Math and my experience with him to date, which I will harp on about a little bit more if nobody else has got anything to add. But has anybody else interacted with Math, know of Math, watched any Math Powerland videos?
Yeah, and mud baths I recommend them. He's not weird for doing that.
Did you say I don't recommend them?
I do. He's not weird for doing that. It's a very normal thing. It's an ancient ritual, mud baths.
No. Forget about the mud baths. That's just a sideline. It's like he also paints floors, but I don't necessarily want to talk to Neil about his painting ability and his flooring ability. It's more about he was the entry point for Flat Earth 10 years ago and more. So I think it's like 2006, maybe it's a little bit later, maybe it's a little bit early, it doesn't really matter. But I remember that date vaguely because Charles, Flat Earth Math, explained that he would been the subject from about 2005, which from my reckoning, because that was the one question I asked everybody when I was interviewing people on this subject 10 years ago when I first got here, and I wanted to know how people found out and how long they'd been around doing it. And up until a point, Math was like the oldest first wave of modern flat earthers that I could find until I came across Charles, Flat Earth Math. Now that might sound weird if you know who Charles is, because he's not a flat earther, quite the contrary. But he predated Math in terms of his descriptions of the forums that were in existence in the mid-2000s. And it, as I said, predated Math, which was a bit eye-opening. And from what Flat Earth Math, that's Charles, was telling me, around about that time, there was obviously a prevalence of flat earthers that he was dealing with in the same way he has to date with us. But they've all vanished. They've all disappeared. And round about the time that they'd all completely faded out into obscurity, Math turns up on the scene and starts doing photo or painting on stage as a part of a comedy bit, if you will. So he's doing jokes and asking people whether or not a picture of a planet is really a picture or a painting, and they don't know. But obviously they're alluded to the idea of it all being photography. And he's then revealing that he made them. He made these photorealistic pictures of planets on stage. And then he brings up the picture of the blue marble and asks the same question, photo or painting? Would you know if it wasn't? That was his shtick that he used originally to open people's eyes to the fakery of NASA and space. So over time...
And that's when it all started, right?
Well, no, it's never ended. I think that's the thing. If you go back and actually look, there's no severe gaps. Flat Earth has always been there. Yeah? And there's a reason. If the world is flat, dealt with, measured, experienced, built on, navigated, surveyed, and obviously observably flat, then you have to do something about that continuously. But if you're doing something proactive to stem the flow of information about the reality of a flat plane that we're dwelling atop, then there's going to be people who brace against that also. In other words, it's sort of self-fulfilling. If you've got your own controlled narrative of flat Earth out there, that in itself will generate anti-flat earthers, which may indirectly spread the word of flat Earth without realising it. Does that make sense? You're always going to have flat
Yes,
earthers.
but I was talking about the wave like us. It started with him, and now we're all here. The new wave of flat Earth.
Well, the second wave, or the wave before us ended in 2001 with Charles K. Johnson, when he died in 2001. But in 2003 is when Matt Towerland said he found out about it at a NASA party. I think it was 2003. So, yeah, he was the start of the second wave, or this, not second wave, but
The first modern wave, so he describes it with waves, and he would absolutely categorically describe himself as a first waver. And there was various other people who appeared on the scene similar time to me that would be described as second wave in this modern genre of flat Earth. So me, Jaren, I don't know where Eric fits in, because he seems to allude to the idea that he arrived earlier than he seemed to have actually arrived. And there's various people contesting how he got his information from them in some uncredited instances. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But, you know, there is a certain amount of ambiguity. Go on.
Matt Powerland. That's where he got his information. His initial information was from Matt Powerland.
No, Paul Michael Bales. According to Paul Michael Bales, when I interviewed him, he was the one that introduced Eric Dubay to the Flat Earth Library. That's according to him. So before he'd made any videos or covered the subject, he was only interested in his yoga and his martial arts and, you know, various different vegan things. And he wasn't covering this subject. And then Paul Michael Bales, according to Paul Michael Bales, introduced Eric Dubay to the subject and all the literature and where to find it. He then away and did a load of research and then started making videos, much to Paul Michael Bales' irritation. So he started calling him a CIA shill.
Well, Matt Powerland said, I don't know, Matt Powerland said, when I was listening to him speak about it, that Eric Dubay approached him.
He stole his video. So what Eric Dubay... Oh, you're breaking up, sorry.
Eric Dubay was off talking about it.
Yeah, Matt was talking about it, but in various discussions he explained that he had worked as a contractor for NASA. So there's a connection that's being made by Eric Dubay that says something to the effect in the title of ex-NASA employee exposes space as fake, or something like that. But he basically just took Matt's video and made it a big video. But it became Eric's video, which annoyed Matt. I think he took him to court over it. This is all...
Matt Powerland, what annoyed him... Sorry?
No, I was just going to say this is all 10-year-old politics, but it's nice to be discussing it again as we're about to cover a Matt Powerland situation, whatever it may be. None of us are familiar, by the way. We don't know what we're covering. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. What Matt Powerland said is that Eric Dubay approached him and he was welcoming and he gave him lots of information. And then Eric Dubay started talking about Flat Earth, but then he started talking about Nazi stuff and other stuff like that. And that's when Matt Powerland lost trust in him.
Talking about what stuff? I didn't catch that. Hold on, Eli. What stuff was it? I didn't catch the words that you said.
It was talking about Nazi stuff and anti-Jewish stuff and all this kind of stuff.
Yes, I do remember that now. And yeah, that was the big... Sorry, go ahead, Eli.
I'm just saying it's interesting that the political awakening is running parallel with the time frame of the modern flat Earth awakening.
Right. But just to back what Brian was just saying, yes, I do. It all comes flooding back when you mention certain details of it. So, Matt's shtick was to say Eric comes along, steals all of the thunder for the subject with my video and then turns it into some anti-Jewish nonsense, which smears us all with this bad reputation. So he was furious about it. I do remember now.
What's anti-Jewish nonsense?
Exactly as it sounds. I just don't want to give you too many details for fear of me getting
Fair enough.
hauled over the coals for it. You can imagine.
Was it really nonsense? That's all I'll ask.
Even in answering that question, I'm going to get too close to the bone for me to want to be like talking about it. Anti-Jewish is all you need to know. That's how, from memory, one of the videos Eric did got took down for exactly that. Like in the terms of service, what do they call them? YouTube community guidelines. It specifically notes that you're not allowed to attack protected groups. One of them being, Jews. It wouldn't matter if it had been transgenders that he was attacking. It just didn't look good.
Well, I think that's how he lost his original channel.
Yeah, I think you're right. So there you go. So there's been some bad blood between Math and not me, surprisingly, considering that the majority of the community at some point have turned against me. Math is one of the few that hasn't. And he like it would be my general rule with all of the community, in quotes. Math has fallen out with almost everybody except me. I can't think of any particular reason why I didn't annoy him, but I didn't. So I managed to stay on his good side, which was no mean feat. People fell out with Math all the time, but same with Eric. People would fall out with Eric back in the day all the time.
And Sleeping Warrior.
Say again?
And Sleeping Warrior.
Who fell out with Sleeping Warrior?
Everyone. At some point.
I never fell out with Sleeping Warrior. At the moment, he's still got the hump with me.
Well, he fell out with everyone then, at some point.
Yeah, but he hasn't fallen out with me in a big way. So with other people, he's
I'm trying to be sarcastic, and now I haven't a joke.
Oh, sorry. I'm contemplating
absolutely.
it.
No. Absolutely not. Anthony never fell out with anyone, and no one fell out with Anthony, and that's the end of that.
No, I'm not saying that. It's one of those when someone's like, well, did you fall out with him? And you think, well, that's my mate. Did we have disagreements? Yeah. Is he has he got the hump with me now? Yeah. So I can't really say no. But by the same token, like I say, he's got various different notches of irritation, and how high you are up that irritation scale is the reaction that I can pretty much gauge depending on what he's doing to you at that particular time, or how much he's disconnected himself from you. You know what I mean? Anyway, enough about Sleeping Warrior and Eric DeBay and Math Powerland, because we're going to be covering a bit of Math Powerland in terms of what's going on with Antarctica currently. So, without further ado, unless there's anything else anybody wanted to add to this? No? Okay. So this is Creaky Blinders video. Again, we're, as I said earlier, covering this completely blind, so I have no really idea of the context. Does anybody have any idea of the context of this video?
I haven't got a clue. Not about.
Okay. Well, in either event, please let Creaky know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's a link going by in the live stream chat. Leave a polite comment without swearing, because it'll just get removed by either the YouTube algorithm, the censor bots, or Creaky himself. So just leave a polite comment that says at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The idea being, were Creaky to make a response, he'd put a link to my video in the same way I'm doing to his. In my limited capacity, as I do believe he's got more subs than I have. Yes, he has. At least I'm assisting him in the YouTube algorithm, where I would hope I would receive the same if he were to respond. So please let him know, and I do mean that in sincerity, as in don't just listen to me saying it and nod and then not do anything. If you are amongst the 70-odd people in the live stream chat currently, please toddle along to Creaky's video as I'm doing this call to action by clicking on that link in the live stream chat, leaving him a comment, helping him in the YouTube algorithm by letting him know that I sent you. Once again, the idea being that Creaky would do the same for me if he was to make a response. Hopefully that's bought enough time for at least one or two of you to have actually toddled along to Creaky's video and left him a comment so that at least he and his viewer base know that we've responded to this video. I don't know what the response is going to be, because we don't know what the video is about, and Math's pretty bonkers, so we'll see how we get on. Anything else anybody wants to add during that call to action? If not, we're going to play on.
I'm the king of the flat earth. There's no delusion here. They want to call me that. Thank you. Crown. Hey, how you doing? What's going on?
Hey, good. How are you?
Pretty good. Tell me about your project.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We're just flying a flat earther and a glober through the Antarctica to see whether or not there's a 24-hour sun.
So, I had an email yesterday from Will Duffy asking me if I knew who Math Powerland was, and even though I've never actually made a video about him, of course I know who he is. He's one of the original YouTube flat earthers. Now, Will had a message telling him that Math wanted to speak to him about the final experiment, so Will, being the gentleman he is, gave him a call, and in
What is the deal with Creaky and Will then? Is he like his secretary? What's going on? This is the second time that Creaky has mentioned that he's been the administrator for Will Duffy in the communication with flat earthers. Anybody?
Who knows what kind of rubbish goes on over on that side.
It is
usual flat
possible that he's a glober.
Good.
I was going to say it's possible that Will Duffy's a glober. He needs an anti-flat earther to communicate with flat earthers because direct communication would affect his glober status.
Okay. I don't know. I doubt he's aware that there's a distinction between anti-flat earthers and globers. But maybe you're right.
flat earther style, he didn't mention that he was recording it, which is a bit of a dick move to say the least. But
Why? Why would it be a dick move to record a known fraud? I would say it was extremely advisable to be recording it. Further to that, if you had even the slightest clue about Math Powerland, you'd know that almost every interaction he's ever had with anybody gets recorded. So, what, do you think this is out of character for Math Powerland? I'm thinking no. Thinking maybe you should have done a bit more homework if you're concerned about him recording your phone calls.
But is it surprising? Well, no, not really. So let's see how that call went, shall we?
So, what, it was out of order to record it, so let's publish it. Okay.
Right. Okay. Now, the first 2 minutes of this video is just Will explaining what the final experiment is. And as Will mentioned at the beginning of this video, it really is pretty simple. Some flat earthers and some globe earthers are...
Some flat earthers and some globe earthers. That's the base premise for the false dichotomy. So flat earthers that actually are adhering to Will Duffy's suggestion that an azimuthal equidistant globe projection is the flat earth model, and some other people who will be assuming that they will arrive at the bottom of a ball when they get to Antarctica. That's called an antipodal assumption, otherwise known as a begging the question fallacy.
traveling to Antarctica to witness the 24-hour sun, and Math has got some questions on that.
And so, what is it?
Oh, I can't cope with it. I'm going to have to adjust the levels on the fly. Just give me a sec. Yep. Get right into that mic, Matt.
I was joking.
Say again?
I was joking a minute ago when I said that about he needed the interaction. I think it's more about maintaining an air of importance for Will Duffy, so he's using a surrogate in this creaky fellow to make himself seem more important.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What does it prove?
Well, if there's a 24-hour sun, we live on a globe. If there's not...
Oh my god, Math managed to get the affirming the consequent fallacy out of him. Oh, Math, I could kiss you. Let's hear this again.
Has got some questions on that.
And so, what is it? What does it prove?
Well, if there's a 24-hour sun, we live on a globe. If there's not, we live on a flat earth.
I just find it strange because, like in...
So if we live on a globe... If we live on a globe is an automatic assumption that you're travelling to the bottom of a globe to make this observation. Then 24-hour sun. That's the affirming the consequent fallacy. He also said it so concisely that he managed to tuck in the false dichotomy. If we don't, we're on a flat earth. That's a false dichotomy fallacy. So we've got exactly as detailed for the last 6 straight months. and affirming the consequent fallacy, used to mask a begging the question fallacy of a globe assumption by antipodal positioning, further disguised by a false dichotomy fallacy. Globe, that's the antipodal assumption, versus flat. It's just a globe projection that the flat earthers are having foist upon them.
2000.
Yeah, the best.
Go.
Oh, sorry. The best form I can give it is to say that if the elevation angle of the sun stays above the horizontal plane of reference for 24 hours, there is no horizontal plane of reference. It doesn't make sense, but that's the best I can formulate it.
I think it was in 2016. I was like making fun of the fact that there was like no time lapse of the midnight sun in the South Pole.
Well, that's weird because I just did a quick YouTube search for 24-hour Antarctic sun time lapse and I got a buttload of results, and two were particularly interesting because.
So, hold on. So this evidence on YouTube of an Antarctic 24-hour sun proves what, Creaky? Okay? So you say there is. It's already been proven. We've already got the time lapses. Let's just take them as read. So we already know there is definitely, according to Creaky, a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Okay? Proving what? How does it prove we're on a ball? Oh, if you automatically assume that Antarctica's on the bottom of a ball, then the 24-hour sun confirms your automatic assumption that you were antipodal when you made the observation. Yeah, we've already basically pointed this out, regardless of whether or not the result is as you would like it to be when you affirm the consequent. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, Matt Powerland was very specific. He said in 2016. Now, before 2015, I don't remember any videos of that. I remember around 2015 there wasn't any. So maybe there wasn't any when he searched in 2016. So, I mean, your man Creaky saying, well, I just searched and I saw loads. Maybe he did in 2024. But he's talking about 2016. It's 8 years ago. So can he guarantee that some of those were from 8 years ago?
Yeah, one of them. Yes,
then...
the two videos he's picked. One is from 18 years ago, and one is from 15 years ago.
Is it?
According to what it says on them.
18 and 15 years ago.
That's what it says. Let's have another look.
Is he? Are we asking for proof of the consequent?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. So, okay, I'll take it as read. Okay, Creaky's right. 24-hour sun. And so you can see 24 hours of sun in Antarctica. Okay? Then what? How does that prove anything? Oh, well, it proves we're on a ball. Okay, how does it prove we're on a ball? Well, when I travelled to Antarctica, I automatically assumed that I was on the bottom of a ball. And then I looked at the 24-hour sun. Okay? So you assumed you were on the bottom of a ball when you looked at the 24-hour sun that you observed, that you already knew, according to this, was going to happen. Okay? You already knew it was going to happen, but for the fact that you went and assumed you were on the bottom of a ball, this doesn't prove a damn thing.
So will Creaky's going to Antarctica to observe something he already knows exists because of videos on YouTube?
Yeah. According to him, I already am satisfied that there is a 24-hour sun. Okay. So make your argument then. Your argument will be as follows. If I assume Antarctica's on the bottom of a ball... Whoa. You're already assuming you're on the bottom of a ball then?
Because one of them was from 15 years ago and the other one was from 18 years ago. So that's a bit before 2016, Matt.
And I was kind of like really raking it over the coals over and over again, laughing. And then finally one was produced on camera, and it went through forensic, Adobe and Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere, and it was it's like a solar spot with just like After Effects. And so that was it. And I found that was strange.
And you know what I find strange? The fact that you just said that you ran one of these videos through forensics.
Who cares about his terminology? He's saying there's fuckery in them. What more do you want?
And then mentioned Adobe After Effects and Adobe
Who cares?
Premiere. They're just pieces of software. Now they could...
Yeah, pieces of software exposing edits and cuts and such like. Yeah, fakery. Oh, well, let's focus on the software that he's talking about, that he might have got the name wrong or something. Who cares?
Would be used to forensically analyze footage, but you'd have to really know what you're doing.
And then...
Sorry, what? So your appeal is to whether or not Math Powerland's got the ability to forensically study whether or not something's got a splice in it. Really? Okay. So for all those people who cheated at gaming and were caught out by teenagers in Discord servers and had their world record stripped from them, oh, they'd have to really know what they were doing. They'd have to have forensic expertise. Give them back their records. No. Anybody can study any footage. And if they find flaw with it, they can expose that flaw. There are no qualifications required to show fraud and fakery. Now, this isn't the question. I've already said in this instance, I couldn't give a toss if there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica or not. Because it doesn't prove anything unless you automatically assume you're on the bottom of a ball when you make the observation. So who cares? It could be there, it could not, who cares? But for the fact that you're assuming you're on the bottom of a ball, it doesn't prove anything.
Now, just recently, they said that the temperature in Antarctica is 50 degrees warmer than normal.
No way! But what the hell has that got to do with the final experiment? Now, while it's true that parts of Antarctica have experienced unusually high temperatures recently, the claim of it being 50 degrees warmer than usual is highly exaggerated and inaccurate.
Who cares?
A 50-degree increase would be an extreme and unprecedented event. They'd be talking about it on the news, and it's far beyond anything currently observed.
Now I'm going to repeat that. That's 50. Now, I don't know if that's Celsius, which is a lot, or even Fahrenheit.
Yeah, but it doesn't make a blind bit of difference because it's not true anyway, and if you bothered looking it up, you'd know that.
And so I saw your project, and I thought, wow, I wonder if the two people who just built suns are going to be testing out their artificial suns over Antarctica, because Germany and China both have a slice of Antarctica.
No, they don't. Nobody does. That's what the Antarctic Treaty is for. Now, Germany and China...
So let me get it straight. The Antarctic Treaty that says we're not supposed to be going down there is what you're now going to appeal to, even though when anybody else on the Flat Earth side previously appeals to the Antarctic Treaty, you point out that you can go down there and it means nothing because you can go and see the penguins. So it's cherry-picked.
Down?
Go on. Down there.
Down? You mean out?
For him, it's down there, though, isn't it? He's going to be assuming antipodal positioning.
No,
Okay,
we're all flat earthers.
We are all flat
down
earthers.
is
Okay,
all
I thought I'd managed to dodge that bullet. Bastard. Slick. Very slick.
Up
Yeah, I can't get away with it
normal.
either because we're all flat earthers, including Creaky. Yes, Liam. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Up and down are both with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. You can say down there. That's fine.
Not really. I mean, the down there for Antarctica, unless you're suggesting that I would reify the antipodal positions of a north and south map wrapped around or within the celestial sphere, which I don't. I understand how that works,
No.
but down there, how do you mean down there?
No,
South,
you don't-
it's not
well,
down.
it would be to say that within this diagram of the celestial sphere that we will use as our coordinates to describe where it is with relation to us, down there is not a problem as long as you're aware of what that means.
Yeah, it means antipodal flat positioning. What you're suggesting is that I can accept the antipodal assumption if I understand how the celestial sphere works, correct?
Yes. Yeah, because then you don't fall into the trap of misunderstanding what it actually is.
Right, but in so doing, I would, number one, accept that I cannot reify the existence of the antipodal south position, flat or otherwise, from the north position, because that's not how reality works. It's just the way it's modelled within two hemispherical plotted charts of the sky that are then sandwiched one underneath the other, resulting in a sphere of the heavens wrapped around two flat planes antipodal from one another.
Yes. So just as with a map, you don't have to face north to be able to read which direction you're going. Staying up and down, as long as you understand how that model works and what it's trying to show, it's not a big deal unless I guess you're in debate.
Yeah, and somebody can twist your use of antipodal as a flat earther. Let's just explain to the audience what we're talking about, though, so they can get a better grip of what we're talking about. Okay, although it's not a perfect diagram, it's good enough and it's on screen now, so I'm going to use it. So if you imagine that this is a North Pole-centric system being measured, right, and each time you back away from the North Pole, you're getting an angle to the North Pole to form a latitude grid, right? These angle measurements to your North Pole will give you this hemispherical view. It's not even it's not even hemispherical. It's half a circle. Yeah, it's just confusing because they've got this plane of reference underneath it that also has a drop below it to infer that it's like a sphere. It isn't. Nevertheless, you've got a perspective view, and from your perspective, what you're going to see is the star that you're looking at drop towards the horizon as you back away from it and the angle increases, right? Now that system can be plotted as latitude on a flat plane, right? It's just ever decreasing circles as you approach Polaris at its zenith, right? So you get smaller and smaller and smaller circles until you're standing below Polaris. Now, if you do the same for an inferred position with the north, so you start directly below Sigma Octantis, which I'm not going to argue about. Let's just assume you can do that. You do actually have a direct point above your head in that scenario, which you don't. Nevertheless, you can do the same thing and create a south-centric system. Again, with a view of the stars receding towards the horizon as you back away from that central point. Now, in that instance, there is no actual star to watch recede towards the horizon, which is kind of a bit squirrely in my description, but we'll have to deal with it. Nevertheless, once you're at that point where you've got two hemispherical views with your positions plotted as latitude, you can then take one of them and put it underneath the other. What you end up with is then a north flat system and a south flat system sandwiched one on top of the other. They're both flat, but you've got one on top of the other. That then forms the celestial sphere view with north and south simultaneously. Now, obviously, in reality, you can't get a view of the north and the south simultaneously. It's just a model. It's just a way of representing this dome-like view of what we see in a perspective description of a star as it reaches the horizon as we back away from it. Now, that gives you this kind of curve that you can see in this diagram. In reality, you're actually measuring two flat planes. Yeah? The sky and the ground parallel with it. But your perspective view forms this idea of a dome, right? In the same way as if you're standing at Polaris and you look out to a distant star that's on the horizon, from your vantage point, it looks like that star that's close to the horizon is lower in your view. Well, that's just perspective. It doesn't mean that that star is actually going to ever touch the horizon. If you were underneath that star, it would be directly above your head. In other words, you're dealing with a flat plane of the sky, a flat plane of the ground, and you're plotting out these positions to represent themselves as though it's a hemispherical view. And that gives you all of the chartable positions on the ground and on the maps for the north. You then do the same for the south. You turn one upside down, antipodal from the other, and then you've got your celestial sphere view. From my understanding, and I'm a bit sketchy about this, that antipodal flat Earth on top of another antipodal, flat Earth, hemispherical view of the stars is what is then plotted out with have-a-sign conversion to give you a globe in the middle of this view. Now, it still only functions from the centre of the globe, but you can plot positions that go through the lines to the celestial sphere to create an imaginary protractor called the globe that you can infer you're standing on a surface of it, when in reality it's just representative of, again, a north and a south hemispherical have-a-sign converted view of the globe based on these flat Earth measurements of the stars. So I know that took about 5 minutes, but based on what John was suggesting, that I could accept antipodal positioning based on the celestial sphere model, which ultimately is used in Origin to create the globe, I suggested, after he made that clear, that that would be twisted by our opponents to assert that the hemispherical antipodal sandwiched celestial sphere model does have the aftermath of the globe projected through have-a-sign conversion, to suggest that me saying antipodal means the bottom of a globe, which it doesn't. God, that was convoluted and long. But good point, John. Anything you want to add, or can I crack back onto the video?
I'm going to add something there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that was some load of nonsense. Why don't you just say out to Antarctica instead of saying down, problem solved? Because otherwise, if you're saying down, downwards, down, it's not out. So are you going out or are you going down?
Because in the model, I just covered this 25 seconds ago. Because you can say...
What model?
This celestial sphere model.
Unless you're standing at the equator, then that all goes out the window. Because you're
not standing anywhere. We're talking about models. None of these models have got anything to do with where you stand in terms of how the model represents itself after you've charted and measured all the positions of the stars and then created a hemispherical view with them. If you then take another different part of the world, south, as we describe it, and then sandwich that underneath, what you end up with bears no relation to the reality of the ground in actuality of standing on the ground. That's a reification fallacy. It's just a model representation of those plotted points. With the circle around you, it's like the sky's parallel with you. It can never be described circular. But John's point is that in that model, you do have an antipodal flat Earth in there. So he's saying when I say down, to refer to Creaky, just to get us back onto the track of this video, when he says down, and then Liam calls me up and says, you can't say down, I'm like, yeah, I'm referring to Creaky. But John's piped up and gone, well, we can still use that terminology if we're referring to the celestial sphere. Hope that makes sense, Brian. Got QE joining, hopefully not to pipe
not
up
really,
on this.
no.
Hold on. Hello, QE. Did you join because you wanted to make a point in this regard? Or can I move on with the video?
No, I joined because meanwhile, back at the ranch with the video, for God's sake. And I'll tell you what, these models, what models do you got?
Celestial sphere. Third time.
Really? Let's see it. Let's see this model.
No.
It's a diagram, Nathan. He went over this a few weeks ago.
Yeah, just like diagram, and it's the same.
What if I say no? I've already said no twice.
Please continue with the video sometime this century.
Both have research stations in Antarctica. I can only think that that's what you mean, but they most definitely do not own a slice of Antarctica. Sorry, did you just ask me how deluded one man can be? Well, I'll show you.
I'm the king of the flat Earth.
Amazon.
Okay, so it's back to smearing him, basically. Standard fare from here on forward, perhaps. What do you think, Brian?
No delusion here. They want to call me that. Thank you. Crown. I'm the guy.
Anyway, moving on.
And it's very simple. And the goal of the whole challenge to find out if it really is indeed a globe, because the globes are all like, they don't make sense. The one from Apollo, they claim is a photograph. It's got all of Africa in it, which implies the other half of the sphere has to contain enough on its sphere span, which is half of the sphere, for the length of Russia, the length of Canada, the Atlantic, and the Pacific. So it's game, set, and match on the Apollo picture. because when you look at a sphere, you see half of the orange.
Go on.
How? No, that's not what sets the match. The claim that it is a picture taken from an area that cannot exist sets the match.
Yes, exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. Exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Math is still back in 2014. Not shocking.
When you don't start to see the whole orange is the part that in the arch that starts to descend away from your view in front of a perfect sphere or a sphere.
It's such a shame as well because his origins could have so easily led to where we are now. If you think about it, when he's talking about is this a photo or a painting, he's saying there's no photos of the Earth from space. That was his original rhetoric. So from there to say the photos that we do have are wrong because is a regression, isn't it? From his original argument, it's worse.
Yes.
Right, like at the circumference that they claim. So that's not enough room for the rest of the world on the night side of that photo. And so then the rest are all like, and then there's NASA admitting it. And then there's NASA, the only agency in the US government that can never have a whistleblower by law.
Okay, so that's a bit weird. Then why do we get so many flat earthers claiming that they've spoken to a NASA whistleblower?
Sorry, the whistleblowers that he just showed on that video, we covered. We covered the guy. He gave us a load of nonsense waffle and word salad about aliens. So when the NASA whistleblowers are the ones on the lists that Creaky show, they're all in promotion of heliocentric rhetoric and in this case aliens. That was what he showed on the list. We covered that.
What he's doing is confusing someone who is said to be blowing the whistle on something wrong and someone who has been given the status by the government as a whistleblower. He's kind of jumping between the two to make his art creaky to make his art.
There's no argument here. This is a big nothing burger.
It is. Yeah, let's move on.
Don't chase it. Don't chase
Didn't you
it. Okay?
yourself claim that you used to work for NASA even though you didn't?
There's no whistleblower protection for anybody who works at NASA. If they...
It's twisting, Creaky being Creaky, really. So, no, from my memory, Eric DeBay put in a title of a video he had on his original channel that it was an ex-NASA employee, whereas Math himself had said that he'd done like contracting work for them, but he never actually claimed to be a NASA employee. From memory, I mean, this is going back a long time. If you can show that Math Powerlands actually turned around and said, yes, I was a NASA employee, I'd be shocked, because it's certainly not to my recollection that he ever said that. But whenever he was put on the spot and asked, he was somewhat vague about him having done work for NASA, as opposed to working for NASA, like as a subcontractor or something similar. I can't remember specifics because it's such a long time ago, but just to be clear, what I do remember, I don't ever recall Math Powerland ever saying I was a NASA employee.
Want to speak?
But of course, Creaky's taken a part of NASA. I keep calling him NASA because it used to be the NASA channel. What Math Powerland is saying, because he's talking about NASA employees. You're like, okay, so this is just tricky editing to get one over on your stupid audience. Creaky's stupid audience, that is.
Speak their mind about something they saw there. So you'll never see anything bad happening there. And we're talking about millions of dollars that I don't doubt aren't going into space research.
Well, here's Africa, and this is what the blue marble sees. Africa, and I'm looking at the other side, and I'll try and turn it exactly 180 degrees. So yeah, now Africa's...
Well, these lines wrapped around your globe, Creaky. Are they latitude lines? Is that what they are? Is that what these markers are? These shiny little markers. Ah, where'd you get them? It's almost like the globe's a protractor, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's because you got them from flat Earth measurements of the stars. That's where you get all these lines on your globe from. The globe is created with flat Earth measurements.
...is facing me. Looks like there's plenty of room left on...
No. My God, Creaky, you got a lot of adverts.
Creaky, you're a crackhead.
It's over. It's literally over. Well, it's over for you. It's over for me. we find out. I want to find out if I'm wrong. But I don't want to go look at like a big huge flash in the sky.
Though I'm glad Will told me that this was actually a phone call, because so far we've heard absolutely zilch from Will. He can't get a word in edgewise.
I had plenty from Will. He asked what it would prove, and he offered up that if there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, it proves there's a globe, and if there isn't, it proves there's a flat Earth. A nice summary of the affirming the consequent, false dichotomy, and begging the question fallacy we've been explaining for quite some time. It just took Math Powerland on a phone call to say, what does this prove, for Will Duffy to actually explain the false dichotomy, affirming the consequent and begging the question fallacy of antipodal assumption in a nice, concise manner to Math. But we did hear Will.
So what you're saying then, Math, is you're quite happy about what the final experiment is, but you want no...
Did those words cross Math's lips? Hands up who heard Math say, I am quite happy with the final experiment and what it's going to be doing. Hands up who heard Math say that. You're just a bullshitter, Creaky. Like, you just literally got to make stuff up that he didn't say.
Part of it. So you want to prove that the Earth is flat, but...
So him saying he wants to prove the Earth is flat is translatable by Creaky as, I am happy with what the final experiment is doing. I see.
You don't want to go to the one place on Earth that could do that for you.
Sorry, how is him saying he doesn't want to go there, him being happy with the final experiment as you just professed him to have said? He didn't say it.
That makes absolutely zero sense.
What, your repositioning of him and what he didn't say doesn't make sense, Creaky? Yeah, because he didn't use the words in juxtaposition to what you said for it to make sense. Because he didn't say it. What you've inferred is that he had suggested, Math Powerland had suggested he was, quote, happy with the final experiment and its outcome, I think was the exact quote. From you. Not him. Scumbaggery. This is what they do. We had somebody in the politics server last Friday that did this with me. Before they've even had half a go at a debate, they're telling me about words I haven't said. So they can argue against those words I haven't said. And here's Creaky doing it to Math. So what, happy with the final experiment? No, those words didn't cross his lips.
Unless, of course, you were exactly the same as every other flat earther who's aware of the final experiment, and you're scared of what it's going to show us, because your grift will be over. But I think yours is anyway, because where have you been?
A grift? Scared? Literally, in this video summary, I've said, okay, I'll give it you. 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Done. I accept there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Now beg for me. Beg for being on the bottom of a globe in the example of how this proves a damn thing. Oh, excuse me, sorry, I'm scared. Come again? No, beg for me, Creaky. Beg to be antipodal from where you are now. Beg for me. That's what I'll be saying to you. You think I'm in fear of your antipodal assumption? Have a laugh, mate. You're joking. No. You will be assuming that you arrive on the bottom of a ball if you arrive in Antarctica to prove that you're on the bottom of a ball with a 24-hour sun. That in absolutely no way scares me. It should scare you that you'll have to navigate the ground flat to get there, as we are currently exposing. Now, I would suggest that you are in fear of what we expose. Hence your grit and determination to get me down there, in quotes, to affirm the antipodal assumption. As a flat earther. You need me, Creaky. You got people like Mr. Sensible offering up cold, hard cash to get me down there, to alleviate your fear. By assuming alongside you that you're antipodal when you get to Antarctica? No, this doesn't concern us. We pity you. Your fear of the reality that you are now faced with, having fallen down the rabbit hole of flat Earth and decided you don't like it, and then sort out ways to affirm your bias, in this case by affirming the consequent, and begging the question of antipodal assumptions that you hold as a religious belief. This is not fear. This is a concise undoing of your religious faith in a ball that is made with flat Earth measurements?
You know, in an area that where, you know, like where the two people that just built fake suns are like testing their sun because of the liability of cooking people. I mean, it's 50 degrees warmer. Where do you think those those artificial suns are now?
Yeah, I can see why you don't really make flat Earth content anymore, Math. It's because...
Yeah, John.
Yeah, Math Powerland has just made some stuff up. I don't know why he has, but he just did. Like,
Well,
why?
He may or may not have made it up. It's just, as it stands, a baseless assertion because he's not offering anything to standardise it. No evidence is being offered. No justification for the claim. According to Math Powerline, there's sun generators that have raised the temperature in Antarctica by 50 degrees because, did he say China and America have got one? Where do you think they are now? What the implied, not proven sun generators that you've suggested but not evidenced, those... I don't know where they are. Maybe in your imagination until you substantiate this claim. Right?
I could speak to it vaguely. I don't know where he got the 50 degrees from. However, Pisano had brought something up many years ago about the Japanese and the Chinese. I may still have it somewhere in my files about them being able to make suns and make them appear in the sky wherever they wanted. I'm just saying. I dropped it, but I remember Robert going over it. I think they've actually done it a few times for celebrations. Like I said, it's so vague, it's hard for me to remember it. It was so long ago. And I really don't feel like tracking it down.
You don't have to. I mean, what does the sun staying above surface level for 24 hours, how does that prove that level's not level?
It doesn't. I'm just saying where he's getting this, where Math is getting this from, I think. I think this is where, like I said, I don't know, nothing to do with temperature raising, but the effect of the sun in the sky or other luminaries in the sky has already been accomplished.
Okay, so what you're saying is there is some validity to the sun generator claim of Math. Fine. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, he didn't say that. He just said that he heard that there was a claim of them. That doesn't mean there's any validity. I'm saying the same thing that I remember hearing over the years about the sun generators that were being created by China and Japan and that. And it was all vague. There was nothing specific or definite there. You know, I have never seen one, and who cares? You know, it's flat earthers being stupid. Like, this is just one big hand wave of the past 10 years of destruction. That's all it is. And until people start seeing that for what it is, they're going to be talking about sun generators and going on with nonsense and who's going and not going to Antarctica. Who cares?
And I just give props to my panel. This is what it's all about, right? This is why we would say we're on the cutting edge. Because we're addressing the red herring, unpacking the red herring, and then someone, like Brian comes along, or QE comes along and says, don't chase this. It's like, no, because you've said that, that means that people understand why you wouldn't want to chase this down. Sun generator, me, I've taken it one step beyond that already. I've said, okay, there is 24-hour sun, hooray! And now beg for me. Beg for me. Tell me I'm in fear as you beg for your globe and its antipodal assumption. Beg for me. That's what I'm doing. Because who gives a toss? It's what that second sun, Chinook, helicopter style, couldn't give a toss. How does it prove something? It proves it because there's globers and flat earthers going down to beg the question of antipodal assumptions or a globe projection in false dichotomy. Oh, how wonderful. That doesn't prove anything. That's a false dichotomy fallacy. No, but if we automatically assume that we travel down to Antarctica and are dangling off the bottom of a ball antipodal from where we began, and then we see 24-hour sun, well, that would be an affirming the consequent fallacy. With an antipodal assumption fallacy, aka a begging the question fallacy. So what does this prove other than that you can beg? Yeah, you can beg. Right, Creaky? Right, Duffy? You're in fear of addressing any of this. We've been saying it for months. None of it's been addressed. But meanwhile, math's a bit kooky. Yeah, he is, isn't he? There might be or might not be a sun generator. Who gives a toss?
Because you're not very good at it. There are solar simulators, but they are pieces of laboratory equipment which are being used to test things that are getting sent out into space. It does not mean that they are being used to duplicate or replace our own sun. And if anyone's interested, the primary driver for the increase in temperature in Antarctica is human-caused climate change.
And on top of it, why would they make an artificial sun?
Crikey, Cricky, you're a crackhead.
I can't believe he's just said that. So his argument is, yeah, okay, there are sun generators, but they wouldn't be used for generating the sun unless they were in space. And therefore, they're not going to have anything better. Why are you even disclaiming this to us, Greeky? Up until now, I was willing to write it off. But now in your response, you're conceding that there are sun generators. Okay, so if I was to chase this down and ignore the fact that you're assuming antipodal positioning, we could go after the fact that it may or may not be a real sun and might be artificial by your own declaration. Yeah, who cares? You're not antipodal. You're going to need to beg for me.
Oh, well, let's melt the Antarctic and start mining it.
And what exactly would they be digging for, Math? Ice cubes?
I mean, there is a lot going on with just the flat.
Amazon.
It's a non-skippable ad, so I'm going to have to say something, otherwise there'll be dead air.
A stick at Antarctica, that could be the reason why everybody's freaking out, even if it is a globe.
But that's exactly why Will chose to take the final experiment to Antarctica, because so many flat earthers have been pointing a stick at it. And now that we go in there, everybody is in a panic. And I'm sure it's because they thought nobody like Will would ever step up and offer to pay. So
Not really. I don't think any of us here give a toss. I thought we made that clear last time we covered this. I mean, notice that in this video, he's not covering any of the antipodal assumption, begging the question fallacy, or false dichotomy fallacy alongside and affirming the consequent fallacy that is being used to delude a whole bunch of people that they've got their globe belief still intact. And hand wave, as Brian points out, the last 10 years of demolition. You want to project your fear onto us, don't you, Crick? Why didn't I spot this sooner? You're fearful of this, aren't you? Because in your mind, you'll ignore the fact we've pointed out that there's a fallacy being employed by false dichotomy. Perhaps you're worried that that false dichotomy might not go your way. Because you're dumb. I mean, if you understood what we are actually telling you, you'd realise this is inconsequential to you also. I mean, you can retain your globe faith without this. Don't need it. Just assume that you're on the bottom of a ball, like you'll need to if you ever actually phrase this into an argument that proves you're on a ball, when you assume you're on a ball. You won't. The closest you personally, Creaky, have come so far was to say, globers are going down there. That was the closest you came in the last video. We've responded to you since. Oh, it's because you're shit scared of us, isn't it? You're shit scared of responding to anything we say and keep leaning on the fact that we're scared to being paid for to go down to Antarctica? Down to Antarctica? Yeah, beg for us. Maybe you're scared to address this stuff, Greeky. I'll just take it as it is. This is pure projection. You're not addressing what we've said, and we've said it multiple times, haven't we? What difference would it make? Okay, if I jump on that boat tomorrow and I'd sign up for it, okay, yes is the answer. I'll go down. How's this proving a ball? Can someone lay it out for me in no uncertain terms while I demand that you beg? Can you tell me how this will prove a ball? Beg for me, bitch. Beg for me.
what can they say about it now?
You know, I could just turn my back on this and just say it was a comedy routine. And...
Oh, yeah, of course. I forgot you were a comedian. Doesn't show.
But at the same time, it's just so... it just won't go away, man. It's just like if the genie's not going back in the bottle with just a picture of a sun, especially with Jaren after Behind the Curve and all that. It's just not. It might even continue it and then they'll go into the sun, so the artificial sun, and it could very well be that. I mean, you know, you've seen some of these latex masks that they put on these days. I mean, come on.
Latex masks? Now, I'm used to flat earthers going off on a tangent, but I've completely lost track of what we were even talking about.
Going off on a tangent? Interesting turn of phrase. You won't be establishing a horizontal plane of reference with a single point of tangency below an assumed sphere dangling below a plane that you'll need to reference when you fly to Antarctica. The plane is going to maintain level flight the entire way. All of the planes that you travel on always will maintain level flight all of the way. We've already established this. I mean, we asked Will to establish this for his antipodal assumption. He ignored it, like you're scared to address any of the fallacies we point out there, Greeky. But you're going to be flying there flat. Is that Brian?
Yeah, sorry. Do you know why this is happening? If anyone wants to truly know. The reason this is happening is because people didn't get behind the black swan. People didn't keep on promoting that the horizon is not geometric. People went off and had arguments and discussions about refraction and other stupid things.
Seeing too far.
Yeah, all this stupid rubbish. And that's the reason that this is happening there.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that. But as far as, you know, the things that you have to experience, it's only possible if Earth is a flat plane. I don't even like saying it that. You know, how can you even begin to rationalize that the elevation angle above a flat plane of a celestial object is in any way proving that it's not a flat plane?
But if I argue about whether or not it's a false sun or a simulated sun, nobody will get to the nitty-gritty of the elevation of the sun being with respect to a plane always. That's how the models and maps, diagrams and maps were created. Technically, I've just conceded to something I refused to concede to for the last month, but there we go. Hopefully that'll slip everybody by and no one will notice it.
And it was a comedy routine. It was going to be like alternative sci-fi. I was going to make movies where it's like it's not a globe and we're like going through geoponds.
Ah, right, now I get it. So you were never a flat earther then. You're just a stand-up comic who thought it would be funny to say that the earth was flat? Am I sort of along the right lines, man?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, what he's actually done was introduce the subject matter through comedy. So rather than it being deadpan, super serious, telling people the Earth's flat, he's opened their mind through a comedy routine and exposed the idea that what you believed were pictures of planets from space are actually just paintings that he made. And then he did the same with the globe. But he got away with it because he did it in a comedy routine. You're twisting that to make it almost seem like, no, he's only done it as comedy. Well, no.
Math? Now, in case you think that he hasn't said enough completely insane stuff yet, listen to this. He's definitely got a messiah complex.
And a car came out of an alley, tried to kill me, and there were cops planted there in unmarked cars waiting to scoop me up. I mean, it's been hell ever since. And I've been like holding my ground because I still got my mind and my body. I've lost my fingers, I glued them back on with clay. I had a tumor, pulled it out of my ear. I've healed myself.
Now, generally speaking, I pride myself in always being able to come up with a witty retort to anything a flat earther says. But I've got to be completely honest with you here. I've got nothing.
Sorry, witty retorts aren't really what we're concerned about. I mean, this is fascinating for your dumb audience. Meanwhile, the antipodal assumption you live in constant fear of, Creaky, is never getting addressed, is it? I mean, it doesn't matter if we say it 100 times, like I have to do with many of your compadres, like, I don't know, Muptoon or Conspiracy Cats, with the failed arguments that they can't address. Well, this is no different. You know, if you want to be Will Duffy's administrative secretary, then why aren't you addressing what is actually being put to him via this video and the last video and the one before? You're assuming you're going to the bottom of a ball. I mean, you're looking for comedic quips based on Math Powerland's kookiness. Me, I'm proving Earth's flat, Creaky. You're just projecting your fear onto us and looking for quips against some kooky flat earther.
Thing to respond to that. What you glued your fingers back on with clay? It's funny your fingers have been waving all over the screen in your video and none of them look like they were ever detached and then glued back on with clay.
Hilarious. Yes, you're so right, Creaky. We're all rolling around. We can't help ourselves.
What the? Oh crap! Yeah, I forgot. So why were the cops?
Good.
Sorry, this is why Matt Powerland is the comedian.
Why, Math Powerland what?
This is why Matt Powerland is the comedian and not Creaky Blinder.
Yeah, Math Powerland does have the ability to make people laugh.
Cops after you? Was it just purely because you were a flat earther, or did you actually do something else wrong?
Just pausing for the producer to put the canned laughter in.
We need details.
I'm trying to lay low right now on all this because Justin Trudeau, I'm a Canadian, and Justin Trudeau says that I'm dangerous for civilization.
Oh, I like your thinking, Matt. And I've thought similar myself. If I ever found myself in a spot of bother where I needed to lay low so that nobody could find me, I always thought that the best way for me to do that would be to upload videos to YouTube in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
I was on a mountain, just pulled out the tumor after 9 years from this car hit in Montreal, Canada. And I went driving and I found this huge deposit of this very...
He's on the phone to Will Duffy. I have to agree with Creaky at this point. If there's no edits and this is literally contemporaneous, as in this is how the phone call rolled with literally nothing being said by Will, then, I mean, come on. Because we're in La La Land and we're not hearing much from Will.
Healing clay. And I'm healing people with these different colors of this magical clay.
Yeah, but Nathan, 1 second.
And so...
that's the whole purpose of calling him. That they know he's probably going to go on with crazy stuff. Because he's kind of a kooky character. And what Will Duffy is doing is sitting there, making a point of being quiet. Because that's what he wants. He wants to be able to sit there and use this as a type of character assassination, self-character assassination of Matt Powerland. He's sitting there smirking like he always does. That's what's going on there. Why is he not on the phone to me? Or you? QE? Or John? Or Adam? Or Eli? Or any of the rest of us? Because that won't
taught
happen.
me something from the Bible, clay.
Now, when you first found this clay, did you know it was magical then, or did you just think it was... No, you can't have just thought it was normal clay, because if you thought it was normal clay, you would have thought what a normal person would think, and that would be something along the lines of, oh, I don't know, I could make a nice vase out of that. But no, you thought...
I mean, this is just an extended character assassination against Matt Powerland now, isn't it? I mean, we've had the evidence presented by Will, which is all we needed from him. Because it's about as concise as I've ever heard Will describe how this is going to prove anything. So beyond this, it's just how kooky is Math Powerland, and that's the rest of the video, is it? This is it.
I know, I accidentally chopped one of my fingers off. I wonder if this clay will help me stick it back on, because that's what all normal people think, right?
Now I'm
There's going to be nothing else.
sending this clay to people all over the world. And the funny part of it is
that people believe you when you say it's got magic healing properties.
I can replace all the big pharma, all the poison industry, the snake. And at this time, God brought me there. And now I've got no tumor in my ear. And I have to tell everybody.
Got competition, Adam.
You know, you don't need to be in pain with your eczema or your dandruff or your cancer. And I can't even say that.
Did he just say that dandruff is painful? Now, obviously, dandruff isn't a problem for me. This is what it looks like when a fully grown man is starting to lose the will to live.
So I say cell regeneration. And ever since I went public on this in 2022...
Public with the clay? I mean, no offence, but obviously Math talking about this is math with math's agenda. But this is totally off topic. I mean, I'm obviously responding to this cold, so I don't know what's coming. But at this point, this is a complete nothing burger and unworthy of response.
Yeah, Nathan, just a second. For all we know, right, for all we know, Matt Powerland in some way has been, or was originally, funded to do what he did, or has been compromised since. He could have been caught with coke or some nonsense like that. And his penance is to become a crazy idiot online. More than, you know what I mean? That's his penance, to make us look bad. You know what I mean? I don't trust any of this. Like, why is he on the phone to Matt Powerland? Why is he not on the phone to you?
I don't think he's got my phone number. I wouldn't want him to have it either, personally.
Yeah, but the point is, why has he not looked to talk to you? Why has he not looked to contact you? I mean, he doesn't have to have your phone number. He can contact you other ways and talk, literally audio, talk to you through the internet. How come he hasn't done that? How come he wants to be on the phone to Matt Powerland?
I think Matt Powerland called him, actually.
No, I think he looked to talk to Matt Powerland, I think, was it?
Okay. Well, there's only 30 seconds left. Let's just get to the end of the creaky video.
There's Fauci and the NIH and the NIH PubMed library all uploading Kale and Clay research.
And I'm sure they are, and at this point in the video, I just cannot be bothered to look. But I'm sure that the self-proclaimed king of the flat earth is having everybody stealing his very important work. Thanks for watching, everybody. Love.
What a load of garbage. I wish we'd covered the other video. Hey ho, that's fairly par for the course for a creaky video. I'm always left irritated after a creaky video. Any last comments before moving to the after show?
I was going to ask, if I concede that everything he said was crazy, how does that affect whether the earth is flat or not?
Doesn't. Not in the slightest. Pure fluff. Any other comments? No? With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley in 1980 or Nathan Oakley primary streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. So was that a good showing by Matt Powerland, do we feel?
Sorry, John, I wasn't at the phone.
Again?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I just want to say it's kind of amazing to me that Matt's the one that recorded that conversation. You would think it would be the other guy that was recording that.
What you're saying is it made Matt look so bad that you wouldn't expect him to be the one that was publishing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair comment.
That was some load of rubbish. Both parties are a load of rubbish. Our man Will is a total fraud, totally sneaky. You know, he like anyone worth their salt. I don't care if Matt Powerland was told about this in 2003. Anyone worth their salt would be saying to him, would be saying to Will Duffy, when Will Duffy says, "Oh, if there's a 24-hour sun that proves the globe," we'll be saying, "How is that? How does it do that? How did you validate that? That's how it proves that." Do you know what I mean? You'd be stopping them right at that point. How does it do that? You know, nobody is doing that. They're just going, yeah, and carrying on. It's like, you know, how does that prove a globe? How does that do this? How does it do that? How do we measure that globe then afterward? How do we measure it? You know, we can't use the sun. We need to be able to measure it. How do we measure the globe? What's the processes? You know, because the processes we use in reality never measure a globe, ever in history. You know, so I don't know how this 24-hour sun proves it when we can't measure the bloody oak. Was that you, QE?
What,
Oh,
yawning?
sorry about that. I thought I was on mute.
Thanks. That was a real vote of confidence in what I was saying.
Man, I just woke
incredibly
up
rude.
a little while.
That's all I heard.
It was at the end of a yawn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I completely agree because I was actually paying attention as opposed to yawning.
I was just looking. I wasn't listening.
Yes.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It couldn't be any more straightforward. You know,
This is all one big nothing burger put on by Creaky, you're a crackhead. This is nothing but, a bunch of old biddies outside on the lawn chairs, right, with the umbrella, talking gossip. It's friggin' nonsense. Prove your globe tard, sphere tard. How about that? We'd want that scientifically, of course.
I know it's
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to scare up old Robert Bassano stuff.
It would be good to cover that. I know you said it's chasing down the red herring, but it is nice to, cross the I's and dot the T's, so to speak.
I would just like to say that basically nobody is sharing and promoting Saturday's Ballbusters. It's like you won't need any Antarctica nonsense because this proves it. And nobody is. It's like when I brought out the other video. No, I didn't bring out Ballbusters. I'm saying when I brought out the other video a while back about addressing Will Duffy and something. If you want to really prove whether it's a globe or flat, this will do it. Pitch data. Get pitch data. Nobody wanted to promote that. Nobody. Yet I'm hearing other people promoting videos that people have made that were similar afterwards. Not the same idea as mine, but the same type of thing. Ideas for Will Duffy to spend his money on to prove whether it's flat or a globe. Now, I've already addressed that. Nobody in the flat arena, besides a few people that listen to here, wanted to promote that. Right? I'm not talking about the people, obviously, that follow this show. Nobody wanted to promote that. Now, Ballbusters, right? The greatest flood presentation that ever happened in this arena, right? With absolute official proof that we're correct. Nobody is promoting it. Nobody is promoting it. I'm looking at the numbers, just over 1,000 views on Saturday's show. Now, I've shared it on my channel, but my channel is very small. I mean, do you really, really, really just want to argue with a load of globers for the rest of your lives? Is that all you want to do? Because as far as I'm concerned, 90% of the supposed flat earth community, and I'm going to say it here, are pathetic. You're pathetic. Literally, the absolute proof. No ifs, buts, no maybes, hands down proof. It's over. It's handed to you. You don't want to know. Because it's coming from us, them bold fellas over there at Flat Earth Debate. The fellas that are always right.
It's one of those. Exactly the same thing happened with Black Swan, didn't it? And you just have to keep banging the drum. It's as annoying as how you're like, you what? You want a golden bullet with a golden gun to fire it? Here you go. Why aren't you taking off me? Why are you running away? Where have you gone? Take the gun. You asked me to make it. Where have they gone? I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. They keep saying they want that golden bullet, that thing. You know what I mean? That really proves it or disproves it. You hand it to them, they don't want to know. And now 4 years after the Black Swan, over 4 years, so it's going to be almost 5 years by the time they go to Antarctica. It'll be only a few weeks away from 5 years. They're off to Antarctica. Like
just to continue the analogy, just while it's in my head. So Spurs chemo. I'm so sorry. I always use this as an example. But sometimes when the argument's brand new, they're willing to take that golden gun off you. And in the case of Spurs chemo, he gladly accepted the scientific golden gun, didn't he? But then he started hitting people while holding the barrel, like pistol whipping them. And you're like, no, that's not how it works. Sorry, it was a good analogy. I like it. You remember that with Spurs chemo? Asking people for their independent variable? Ryan? Maybe not. Maybe you had no engagement with Spurs chemo around that sort of time.
I remember Spurs chemo with no gas pressure.
Yeah, that was a long time after. Before that, he was going around asking people for their independent variable when they claimed almost anything. And when you hear it, you're almost like, oh, Spurs. Unless they've said this is science, or unless they've said I've got an experiment, you don't start asking for your independent variable. For instance, if Will Duffy did call this the final expedition and started talking about how this expedition to Antarctica will prove once and for all that we're on a ball.
What's your independent variable?
What's your independent variable would not be an appropriate question, would it?
No, but I do remember you talking about it. And I did hear him do it on occasion, yes.
Now, as it happens, Will Duffy has said it's an experiment. So me immediately saying, what's your independent and dependent variable, please? Of course, we're scared. Maybe Will Duffy's scared to tell us what the hypothesis is. I know it's us that's scared, isn't it? Right, yeah, okay, of course. Rolls eyes.
Well, I since they announced this expedition experiment, I haven't been able to sleep. I'm so scared.
I just look up which it actually is currently. It is fraud. What do you know? Neither. At the very least, you've got to admire.
Fraud, then he should be brought up on charges.
Yeah, maybe that will happen if suddenly what is a $15,000 trip turns into a $30,000 trip, turns into multiple $40,000 GoFundMes. Then yeah, there might be a few people looking at it after the fact. I wouldn't be at all surprised, Neil. When you're talking about huge sums, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, then yeah, there's going to be a few people that might prick their ears up. Wouldn't you agree, Neil?
Oh, I'm absolutely. Sorry.
Me, when that happens, I'll be going, what's that? You really wanted me to go down? To assume antipodal positioning in your fraud? Oh no, I didn't want any involvement in that fraud. I called it a fraud. What's that? You're being investigated because you've raised $50,000 on Patreon, or you've raised $50,000 on GoFundMe for a trip that costs 15? Really? Maybe someone might want to look into that extra money that you raised and where it went.
It would actually be easy for him to launder that money if he wanted to. He could just establish it as a 501c3, establish himself as president, and then just gift himself the money as a bonus.
Yeah. There's a whole number of things that could be going on, and we aren't privileged to them, are we? We don't know. We know it's fraud. We keep pointing it out. But we're just told that we're scared in response to us pointing out it's fraud. What's that? We say it's fraud. You say, you're scared. No, definitely not. We're calling it fraud. We're then evidencing the fraud. When he says it's an experiment and he's asked for independent and dependent variables by me personally, they're not forthcoming, and then he decides, oh, well, some people don't like it being called an experiment, so I'm going to say expedition if you don't like the word experiment. What, so if we don't like you being fraudulent, we can call it something else, says Will Duffy. No, that's just exposing fraud by his own words. So, again, what's your response to that? Oh, we're scared. Wasn't that the same response as last time? Seems like you're not listening. It's fraud. Why aren't you getting this?
Yeah, when it's pointed out that he's a fraud by calling it what he's calling it, he said, "I just call it whatever you want. I don't mind." I'd say you'd like us to start calling it different things, and then not focus on the fraud that you're trying to commit. Because it's intellectually fraudulent what he's committing, because he's calling it an experiment, which it's not.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. You can call it an observation, call it whatever. Don't call it something it's not.
Like drink driving, running someone down in a car, and then you haul before the judge, and the judge says you're being charged with vehicular manslaughter. You go, can we just call it doing zoomies? Would it not be better if you just called it doing zoomies? Like, no, it's vehicular manslaughter. You killed somebody while you were drunk driving. Just call it doing zoomies if you don't like it. It's not about liking it, it's fraud.
They'll get what they fucking deserve.
And fair enough with the expedition, but they can't call it that either, because an expedition requires navigation, and you can't use navigation on a ball.
Furthermore, it wouldn't be a final expedition to Antarctica, given that there's regular trips down there by their own admission. So final expedition to Antarctica? No, they're just lying. You peddling the idea that it's the last one anybody can ever do because it's final? A final expedition to Antarctica? What, we'll never get to go again? Well, that will be false advertising. Wouldn't that be people under the pretense that they won't get to do it ever again because it's the final one? Unless they want to pay half the price that Will Duffy's charging and just go to somebody else who's organising these trips to Antarctica for 15k rather than 30. I know.
Meanwhile, sorry.
No, you go on. I was just going to add to that. Go ahead.
Just saying, meanwhile, we absolutely proved that it was flat and not a globe on Saturday night. Without a doubt, no way around it, hands down, over. And 1,000 views.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These people aren't looking for proof. They're not looking to win the argument or end the argument. Maybe a lot of the people on both sides are the same. Maybe there's only a small section of people on the opposing side are the same as us, if you know what I mean. It seems to me that we need to find that small section of people and just address them and have them just address us. Because there seems to be a load of people in between, or at least on the flat earth side, who are just looking to gowl about. I mean, there's people out there who never shut up about flight, never shut up about it. You give them the very thing that people like Woodfee avoided giving them for 8 years. You give it to them, 1,000 views.
You've got to keep banging the same drum. I understand your disdain, but there's two routes after the disdain of why isn't everybody immediately getting it. One is Sodom. I've given it you. You're supposed to run with it. Well, you just got to keep. It's like a campaign. It's like a campaign trail. Now it shouldn't be that way. When it's let's do the sound. You know, you've got your golden gun with its golden ammunition on a pillow made of velvet, and you hand it to them. Ah! And they go, and just look at you with a blank face. You're like, take it off me. Ah! They hold the gun up a bit higher. And they just look at you with a blank face. Or they walk straight past you. You're like, excuse me, man with golden gun offering it for free. And they go, nah. Just got to keep campaigning. It's weird. Stupid. Especially when it's in your own arena and they're crying out for this stuff. Why isn't anybody out there doing blah, blah, blah? Okay, we'll do blah, blah, blah. It's because half the time they want to moan. A lot of these people who claim to be flat earthers are a bit like me in this regard, that they're videographers. And they're looking at what trends and negativity and, you know, that will do better. So in many ways, saying Brian's wrong, a bit like measured flat. Can't measure a reference. What are you babbling about? Oh, well, that's much more effective, isn't it? Oh, being a negative Nelly about the absolutely outstanding standards that expose how Earth is measured. And even with people like Thunderfoot calling it a measurement and doing it off a flat Earth, there's still detractors out there because negativity is what, for whatever reason, does better. Algorithmically speaking. I don't know why. People just like negativity. So people wanting to say Brian's wrong is what will do better than you actually exposing the data. But to keep
No.
it in the mind's eye of people, you just got to keep banging the same drum, like we saw with the Black Swan.
Well, yeah, but it's more like, who does that Brian's logic think he is? Saying 90% of us are pathetic. Who does he think he is? Let's focus on Brian's logic and not focus on the pitch data, because that's what you want to focus on. It doesn't have to be me, whoever. I'm not just using me because I said that. Let's focus on the bullshit instead of focusing on the thing we're supposed to focus on. Let's focus on QE and how bold he is to everyone. He's bold after that. Not the fact that he's pointing out with a logical consistency argument that the horizon is not the geometric edge of the sphere. No, that bold QE. And that Nathan that hangs out with him, he's bold as well, that fella. No, why don't you do that, you crowd of idiots? Idiots, you're pathetic. This is why the Freemasons exist. Because people like them who would have got the information to help you out, you would spit in their faces. But when they manipulate you with it, you want to be their friends. So maybe you get what you deserve. I have empathy for Freemasons at times like this.
What you're saying is they've figured out that a golden gun on a pillow will appeal to no one. But if you surreptitiously fire it at an opponent of somebody who wants that opponent taken out, the indirect use of it might get their attention. And the Freemasons figure that out and say, well, okay, if we know this information and withhold it and then utilize it to manipulate people into doing certain things, they'll praise us for it. Whereas if we just reveal the information, they'll spit in our face.
Yeah, if you manipulate them, take money off them, make them feel like they're getting a good deal while you're robbing them, and then have them give you the utmost respect and to bow down in front of you, that's when they'll think you're great. But if you try to help them, you try to be honest with them, you try to help them, they're going to have a litany with you and the things you say. Pathetic.
Oh, hopefully you don't come too jaded. Or should I say, more jaded.
Yeah, but it's like, why keep helping people who only want to be hindered? They don't, it's like, what do they actually want? They don't want help in the issue, because if they did, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. They obviously want to be hindered in some way. They want the problems. They have to want the problems, because anyone who claims to want evidence and proof would be jumping on what was shown on Saturday night. Anyone. You wouldn't even need, we shouldn't need that. It should have been over on the 1st of January 2020. It should be over.
Listen, you've heard what people have said in response to some of the best arguments we've put down over the years. The response has been, but that just ends the argument. They moan because they've got nowhere to go.
Exactly, you got it. Nathan's got it. Go on.
That's it. They want the argument. They want the conflict. EastEnders in Britain is a soap opera that at its peak was being watched by 7 million people. Why? Well, because it's constant conflict. And in the case of Flat Earth, they don't want to be able to cut off the argument at the knees, immediately ending the discussion. They want the discussion to go on and on and on and on and on and on. They're not interested in ending the argument. So when you say this ends the argument, they go, ooh, don't know about that. Ends the argument. Oh, they won't like that. They like, why do you care about what our opponent likes? Don't you want to end the argument? No, they don't.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. This is what I probably didn't say it clearly enough because of my frustration. That's the point. It's like they don't want to end the argument. They want to just have a daily heap of nonsense argument with people on Discord and X and TikTok and wherever else. They just want to have this heap of rubbish all the time that's going around in circles. They don't want actual evidence that proves or disproves. Like, for me, it's like, I mean, that is the stupidest thing of all time ever. I can't think of anything this. I can't, QB, I can't think of anything more stupid. I can't think of anything more stupid that you will make a point of avoiding proof and evidence that tells you either one way or the other. If it told me for definite that it was a globe, the last thing I'll be doing would be saying it's flat. But if it tells me it's flat, the last thing I'll be doing is saying it's a globe. I won't
Brian.
Yeah, go on.
This is going to be painful. Okay. Welcome to Flat Earth.
A lot of people, though, when they get here, they want to cut to the chase. They want to know either way. So they're not going to want endless hours of nonsense going round and round. That's really for people who are ingrained in the trenches already. They've picked a side and they're sticking to it.
I have to disagree, because most of the people who are entrenched and ingrained and who want to argue every day, all day, they're the very people that gave the impression when they turned up they just wanted some evidence of either way. But they don't. They don't want that. What they want is to ignore that when it comes out, to attack the people that bring it out, right? So that gives them a public reason to ignore it, right? To not promote it, to not deal with it, unless they're backed into a corner, and then they'll use it, have no doubt. General Campanella. But other than that, they want to have nothing to do with it. Why? Because they want to keep having this argument with a load of numpties. And those load of numpties want to keep having the argument with them.
Or it's like Messiah complex, as much as I agree with Creaky. You know, it's crabs in a bucket. That person's trying to climb out of the bucket. We're all in this bucket. Stop trying to climb out. No, that's not a good argument that will end this discussion.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry for you, but I'm better than you. That's
Basically.
not arrogance. That's just fact. I am better than you. Not that I'm talking about the people here. I'm talking about all the people who don't want to deal with what I put forth. I'm sorry. Me and the people here, we're the best there is. So you can try, but you'll never equal us. We'll always beat you. We'll always be better than you. We'll always best you.
So don't hold back.
Because we have a standard that you don't hold. So I'm sorry for you, but I'm better. I know more. I have better logic, everything. So I'm the person to listen to.
Yeah. Obviously, when we're saying we're on the cutting edge, we mean it.
Right, but nobody builds you shouldn't really build statues of people while they're alive. So your views and your statues will come when you're dead, mate. You know, because they never look anything like the person. And then you have to stand next to them and have a photograph. It's awkward. Wait till you passed.
Yeah, but I'm not looking for statues. The point I'm making is there's people out there who are looking for a statue of themselves because they don't want to go along with something that someone else came up with. I don't care who comes up with a good argument. I will use it. If General Campanella, someone I hate, comes up with a good argument, I'll absolutely use it. I'm not going to pretend he didn't. I'm not going to attack him instead of dealing with the argument or instead of promoting the argument. I won't do that. I'm purely focused on the arguments that beat the globe. Right? If he comes up with $1,000, even though I hate him, right, I'll still absolutely promote his argument. But will he promote mine or someone else's? No. And will those other people promote mine or QE's or anyone else's on that's connected to FED? No. You want to have
Yeah, Brian, because they take it personal, Brian. We never said anything about them. We don't care about who they are. It's what they say that we come against. But if they say something good, we promote. We try to promote them. We encourage them to speak the way we speak here. Not saying, but they don't.
Who's them?
And they won't promote you.
Who's them?
And you got to get this right. It's not the Three Stooges. It's Mo, Larry, and Scurvy, not Mo, Larry, and Curly. Get it right, Huey.
Yeah, see, you're talking about three people. We're talking about corporate flat Earth as a whole. That's what Brian was talking about. I know those three knuckle drivers. Who really cares about them?
Flat Earth. You ain't getting them to promote anything.
Yeah, who cares?
That.
Who cares? We kind of went on a tangent and then reverted over to the three numpties. We're not talking about that. The bigger picture is, and I think we already covered it, about flat Earth as a whole. And you guys got it. I mean, I realize that many, many years ago. I think I talked about it a couple times, that people just want to argue. I'd go in 24/7 after I've been there for 3.5 years, talking to the same people, putting most of these arguments out that an incoherent second grader could understand, breaking them down, going step by step, countless times, over and over and over again. I'd come in and they'd bring idiot baltards would bring that subject up, and they would argue on a different point.
Yeah.
That's when I realized it.
Well, I think it was a great man who once said that, what was it? He said, the problem with flat Earth is flat earthers.
Yeah,
I can't remember who
somebody
said
said
that.
that.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with people are people.
Yes.
And it's true that, like, you would think that the conversation would have evolved by now, but flat earthers are doing the same thing, arguing with the same people. They'll even say it. Hey, man, we just argued yesterday for 4 fucking hours. Why?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, not ye, obviously not the people here and the people follow this show, the people who are on our side or the QE show or Ballbusters, not our group, but the rest of you. I'm sorry to tell you, but if a baller tells me that I've done something wrong, and I have, I accept it. If a baller proves me wrong, I accept it. If a baller corrects me on my spellings, I accept it, right? Because maybe it's something I'm always spelling wrong, right? But when I'm right, I'm right. And I'm sorry to tell you out there, but I am the best there is. No, I'm not saying there's not other people as good as me, but I am the best there is. Right? There is no one in existence that I'm aware of that knows more about this topic and all the aspects of this topic than me. So if I tell you that this proves this, or that proves that because of this, that, or the other thing, it means that I've actually thought about it, researched it, and made sure. So if you want to have a problem with something I say, or you want to ignore that or whatever, then that means you are not on my side. That means you are not really a flat earther. So if you disagree with me and what I put forward, then you're not really a flat earther. You're a fraud.
I feel weird about trying to argue with you now.
Yeah, because it's not. I could say the same thing about you, John. Couldn't I? I could use you as the example, but I'm using me, so I'm not putting someone else up there in the firing line. I'm using me because, but it's easy for me to say. It's true. Sorry.
I know what you mean. I was joking. There's a difference between vetting information and putting forth correct information.
Yeah, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Sorry, Neil. I'm just saying, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I accept that. That's the standard I hold. When it's time to be honest, I'm honest. Right? And I'm being honest now. Right? When it comes to flat Earth, I'm at the top of that tree. And I've worked hard to get there. Spent a lot of years, put up a lot of stupid stuff. Probably not most of it, mostly, but a lot of it was from flat earthers. And these days, it's flat earthers more than globe earthers that are the problem, that are causing me the most problems.
And you're modest.
Yeah, but
Very modest.
what's the point in being modest? It's time for honesty. It's not about. It's like, yeah, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. When something is right, it's right, and I don't care who puts it forth. They're right. If I'm wrong and they're right, then that's the way it is. But when I'm right, I am. And what you'll find is that I'm mostly right. If someone is out there and they're flat earther and they want to challenge me on that, they're welcome to have a go. See if they know more about the whole topic and all the aspects within it than me. See if they have more information, if they've researched it more, if they thought about it more. We'll see. Yeah, that includes you have to know the heliocentric paradigm at least as good as me as well.
Ouch. Yeah. I'll let you have that title.
yeah, it's going to come across as he's going to be attacked. Who does he think he is? Him and his big mouth. He's arrogant. Blah blah blah. It's not about that. I've never been that way. I've always been, and I've always tried to be as fair with people as possible. But it's like time is time. Like there's no point pretending anymore. Yeah,
No,
that's what you get.
I'm saying flat out, you can have that title about knowing more about their paradigm than they do, because I've heard some of the arguments you've got into. Yeah, you understand it better than they do, for sure.
Because I've had to. And any flat earther out there who wants to take on that the globe paradigm, they have to know it at least as good as I do, be able to do it. And if they don't know it that well, then what are they doing? The point is that my challenge is out there to other flat earthers who think they know what they're talking about. If you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, if you think you can ignore the things I say and ignore the proofs that come from me and the people around me, you think you can ignore that, then you come up with something better, because I've heard nothing but rubbish from the majority of you for the past 9 years. You all majority chase after people like Whitsitt and Jaron. And you know what I mean? I won't say flat earth Dave because he's more kind of in general to the public. But they do. Whitsitt was trying to say recently on a thing I listened to, or well, it's somewhat recent, in some thing, some presentation he was doing in Las Vegas, right? Las Vegas on a stage, right? It's like Blacktoberfest or something. He was trying to relate the water cycle to a torus field. Is that who you're following? No offense to him. He can be wrong if he wants. He can be wrong all day long. He's not the problem. The problem is the people who are following him. It doesn't take very much to learn about the water cycle and what controls it. And it's not a torus field. I'm sorry, it's just a frustration is getting to me today. It's trying to draw that line in the sand.
Right.
I've been there.
Right. Welcome to Flat Earth.
You just got to, rather than getting despondent with all the numpties, as you're calling them, the 90% of flat earthers, you've just got to keep banging the same drum. That's it. Show how effective it is. Not that you should need to.
No, there's another option. You can sit back and listen to them get annihilated by the borders. You can do that. Because I don't have to worry about it. Any border comes at me with an argument, I have the most epic response that there is to the argument. For basically everything. You know, I don't know any argument they can come at me with that they don't have the most epic response to. So I'd rather sit back now and listen to all the flat earthers make idiots themselves. Not talking about new people coming in. New people are new people. I'm talking about people who are here for years who suddenly have ideas about things. You know, I think it's this or I think it's that. You know, thinking about things. I think this. You know, that means you have a belief. So you don't know then. You know, all those people. You know, they're idiots. Picky.
What is the video you were referring to on Saturday? Is there somebody who has a link?
Ballbusters on Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Be Here or Be Sphere.
All right. Check it out. Like, I wanted to ask a question. You know, you've been in this for just around a decade now. And I feel the frustration when I hear you speak. Not, you know, all of you, especially in this forum here. Like, what's the intention then now? You know for yourself that we can't control others, but, you know, are you trying to control others or?
No, inform others.
Can I answer that?
Trying to inform them. Go ahead, Eli.
What we want people to do is acknowledge what we're exposing to them, which is information. Like that's all we can do. Like when I first set out on this journey, all I wanted to do was bounce the information that I found off of others, because that's what you do when you find something out. You go tell others. It's just it's just naturally how we are. But unnaturally, we were met with resistance. Resistance that, tried to dissuade us from asking these questions. And we all have the same questions. What the heck is going on? Why are things the way they are? Why don't I know more about the thing that I believe in? So we just want people
People want to live in a cage.
we just want people to acknowledge what's going on, and then whatever naturally happens from there is up to it is what it is.
My answer is a little bit different.
Don't place that on me. Yeah, don't place that on me. It's not a we thing. It's very simple. Expose pretender clown frauds. Personally, for me. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, well, my frustration today is that people have been wasting my time, and basically wasting everyone's time for a long time, because they're frauds. They say that they want to get proof of whether it's flat or a globe, absolute proof. When you hand it to them, they then don't look at it or ignore it or won't promote it, or they want to argue with you instead of dealing with it.
You're not answering this question, Brian. You're not answering this question. You're not answering this question.
I thought that was his question.
No.
What's the problem or whatever?
No. What is your intent now?
My intent now? I didn't think that was his question.
Yeah.
Could he ask the question again? The way he asked it?
Yeah. Like, what's the intention now after everything that you've learned over the 9 years that you researched this? Being at the pinnacle of this truther community, like, what would be your intention now? That was my question.
Well, I'm not part of a truther community yet.
Yeah, it's not a truther community. I was on the move. Sorry about that. It's not a truther community. It's flat Earth. Period.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. You're okay. Go ahead, Brian. Now that you got the question, now that you know all that you know, what is your intent, sir? Is you ain't a flat earther? And what's your intent?
My intention is to stop having my time wasted. That's my intention from here on in.
I have a different intention.
And that's easy. All you have to do is stop allowing it.
Hold on. I have a different intention. Mine is to hang out with my buddies and talk about this subject and have people who are complete morons walk up and Nathan put them in their place, or Brian put them in their place. That's kind of like what I do for fun now.
Just to put it out there, I don't have any actual real ill will towards Whitsitt. I don't like Jerome Campanella, but towards Whitsitt I don't have. I don't have ill will towards him. I just know he gets loads of stuff wrong and he promotes stuff that isn't correct, things that he has beliefs in, right? And he gets a load of attention and he's followed left, right, and centre. I know he does promote himself. He does a lot of debates and stuff. But the point being is that he's not correct in a lot of things. And that I can't understand why people will just blindly follow someone who's not correct. I have no problem with him himself.
You're not accepting that most people are dumb.
You're still not answering his question.
I did answer it, did I not?
Did you? I didn't hear an answer.
Well, I mean, Brian, you said your intention is for something not to happen, which you're in complete control of. I don't know if that's I don't know if I like that answer either. Like what intent? What is your intention? Your purpose? Like what is your intention behind what you do every day? Like,
what's your intention, sir?
At this stage, honestly, the answer I gave is the best answer I could give, because any intention, if you asked me this before Saturday, I would have given you probably a different answer. But now, the only answer I have is to not have my time wasted. That's what I can give you. Yeah.
And how are you going to fix that? What are you going to do about that? What's your intent?
Stop appealing to pretender clown flat earthers.
Yeah, but okay. See, that still doesn't answer. Look, in the grand scheme of things, What do you want to happen behind all of this this exposing we're doing?
Oh, I want to become like major, famous, and rich.
And
successful.
Why not?
I want
Why
that.
not?
I'm not going to lie. Like, why not? Why not? I grew up in a housing estate in Ireland. Yeah, that's what I want. I want something good out of this.
I want. Come on, you want people to write songs about you, Nathan?
I want something good
Brian,
out
he
of
wants
this.
to be famous.
Nathan, cue up the song.
But we know most people that are real in this get the least coverage. That's with every subject. Shit, you could go to you could go to a nerdathon and the smartest guy isn't there. Just the one that they chose. Like that happens everywhere. We're not going to be famous because we real as fuck.
Oh, you can't say that.
All right. You think because when I think about this whole Kendrick Drake debacle, sorry to bring it up, I'm not gonna be long. Like even with that, I had to think, well, how real is Kendrick really? Like, what does he do? What has he done beyond the music that he's made? Is he really walking the way that his music is talking? No.
The hell are you even talking about?
Yeah, I don't really
like, but
know.
the whole thing is everyone that I know who's famous that's being propelled by the machine, by the marketing machine, isn't someone we would respect. As a matter of fact, the
apart
people
from Candace Owens,
we do respect are on the downturn.
Other than Candace.
Once Candace Owens starts ruffling enough feathers, she's going to be on the downturn too, because that's what they do.
Candace Owens can do no wrong.
Okay, so we already know that they censor us. Like it's election season, and you can tell that the censorship is high because everything is being it's things that don't have anything to do with politics whatsoever. Like my group is being censored heavy. Like we're just getting hit for comment after comment after comment, and that's just because they just turned up whatever they do with the whole system, because this is their system of communication. When they don't like certain things being said, they're going to end it. So how are you going to become something or be something when you can't when there's no truth?
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing, right? If you asked me before Saturday, my answer to that would have been a little bit more, nice, a bit more, wow, I really like that. It really sounds like he's really interested. But the truth is that if pretenders clown flat earthers would be promoting things that are actually proofs against the globe, things like the pitch data, then we wouldn't be in the position we're in. The problem we have is people around us pretending to be on our side when really they're not. They're lying to themselves when they wake up in the morning, look in the mirror. Just go back to the globe and stop wasting our time.
Like, I see that this is a 2-hour and 30-minute video.
Questions? Excuse me. Any other question?
Any other question?
Yeah, any other questions? Somebody asked a question. Did you get an adequate response?
Yeah, I think so. But I feel like it's like this digital bar that people are just going to, which is Discord, and everybody's using that as somehow a social gathering, but it's still just a bar.
Yeah.
And we're trying to push it to YouTube, which is heavily censored, and you're screaming on the square, and people look at you crazy, as if you're crazy. But I feel like if we can shorten the information, because the poor people out there, most of the issues that are at hand, that they're just too busy living their lives, paying their bills, going to work, and they don't have time to watch a 2-hour and 30-minute video about the truth when it comes to this.
Oh yes, they do.
What we want is correspondence. Like, and that's what happens least in this. Like, as a
Don't be
matter of
putting
fact,
we. Don't. Hey, Mr. Waxen Philosophical, don't be putting we in there.
Yeah, I ain't paying my bills.
Well, when you put information out there, specifically in a conversation, you want them to respond to you. That's what I mean by correspondence.
Who's them?
Whoever you're talking to. Like, you could expand that from.
I want them to respond to me about a conversation that I had. Huh?
No, when you're talking to someone and you ask them a point blank question, you're expecting them to respond. When I say correspondence, I'm listening for people to respond to the points that we've been making. I'm waiting for the information that we've given I'm waiting for some sort of signal back that they actually heard. But every time it comes back, it just comes back this garbled, not exactly what we said kind of response, like people aren't actually listening.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.